Hello there. My name is, well, you know me as TDK or Sidewinder, so let's keep it at that. All I was gonna say is my name is TDK, but you already know me as TDK, so that doesn't matter. I have some things here, because recently, the Wings of Fire Wiki, as you know, because I'm posting this on the specific thread, basically, a lot of people were arguing for democracy on the Wings of Fire Wiki and less of like a moderator-focused rule, I guess. More towards people, and the people of the wiki really having more power than the mods. And I really agree with that. I really think this is a good idea. So I wrote a little essay on it. I wanted to do this using my voice because I feel like it feels more truthful and less like words on a screen if you do it using your voice. So yeah, I wanted to do this with my voice. I hope you guys don't mind that. Let's start with another message that I really liked on the board from a user called Esselcool. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That said the following before I get to mine. Esselcool wrote, "Well shoot, I just read all 453 messages of newsletter 106, and I have to say I have some strong opinions. I agree with everyone that's saying we need to implement some sort of democracy here, instead of the mods deciding every rule, it being implemented immediately after being announced. It would be super beneficial, in my opinion, to have a system of sorts where either a mod proposes a new rule or change that the mod team has been considering, or a user can go directly to an admin's message wall and ask for a rule or change to be proposed, so that you don't have users going, let's vote and allow for anything to be allowed in the discussion thread. Then everyone would be allowed to discuss and debate respectfully. Everyone, mods and users alike, deserve to be treated with respect and kindness when debating. Mods could get a general consensus of how the wiki feels about the proposed rule, and then they could take it to their top secret mod Discord or whatever they have to discuss. Users could be given, say, a 24-hour notice to view and mentally adjust to the new rule if it's something big, like, I don't know, the swirling rule or something regarding profile pictures or bios, etc. The thread could be promoted on the newsletter, or when a discussion is happening, it could be broadcasted via announcements with a brief description of the rule being proposed. And of course, a detailed description of it on the top of the thread." Esselcool. Okay, here is mine. I agree with that to a point, at least. I think I of course agree with a lot more freedom than that, but it doesn't matter. Because even so, I think small improvements are still improvements. So I agree with that a lot. This is something that I think is cool. But here is my more. I feel like it's a more fleshed out view of my opinion on how things should be. And again, this is just my opinion, and I don't think the mods are especially bad or anything. I just think people should have more power, and I've realized some problems with how the power structure is in the wiki, so I just wanted to see this. Okay, here's what I wanted to say. Just a note, I don't think there's anything that I should really warn about here. There's minor mentions of violence, corruption, and some mentions of dictatorship, but no actual dictators are mentioned. Basically just politics, because I would say I'm pretty good at politics, so that's kind of what I've decided to focus on. Oh boy, here I come. That one guy who posts stuff about not liking how the wiki is run. I wonder what silly thing I'll say next. Now, I had indicated that with a tone indicator, noting that it was a half joke, a lighthearted half joke, and it is. Because I know that, like, there was a Wikiverse post that I made where, like, I put my characters into, like, I put, like, a character that was supposed to represent myself, and he just kind of, like, he was my wiki sona was basically just all against like the entirety of the wiki, and I don't think anyone realized that, but that was okay. I tend to say funny joking remarks about how the wiki is run, but this is my first kind of serious thing where I go, you know what, this is how I really feel. Anyways, Allow me to become my political side of myself. Although I'll refrain from making any large accusatory, this wiki is horrible and authoritarian and bad statements that I would intend to anyway. This Esselcool's post sums up everything that this wiki needs, at least to an extent. While I'm in favor of a fully, truly democratic wiki where everything is done by the will of the people and mods have no power but to enforce the rules that the people decided on, see Switzerland's political system. Just search up Switzerland's politics, go to the Wikipedia page. It's easy enough to understand, I think. That's obviously not going to happen anytime soon, so a good enough plan would to have people vote on large things. I'd actually say any large thing would fall into this. The newest rule, the off-topic rule, pretty much anything that shapes the wiki as a whole, plus if the people clamored and held a poll themselves to change something in the rules that everyone hated from, say, when this wiki was first created or something, they could do that too. How do we make sure that the mods can check without massive stress that no corruption is going on in these said polls? Simple. Let's make a few outlines of the rules here. Number 1, any large changes to the wiki will happen once a year, and this could be twice a year. I mean, I'm not, like, massively fully on board with this. I'm giving it kind of a rough estimate of what I feel like would work the best. But of course, anything could work, but I think this is like the best thing, because if you have one large change a year, then it's not that much for people to adapt to, and it's also not that much stress, because the mods only have to do this once a year, you know, pretty simple. But, here, let me expand on this further. Any large changes to the wiki will happen once a year, with the mods voting on what to change themselves before presenting it to the people for final approval. This ensures that changes to the wiki will be truly worth it and needed if approved by both mod and people, whilst tallying true votes from the people and making sure corruption isn't present will still be a large job and might not be 100% done well, but that's okay, because elections are never really 100%. At least what I've observed is that they're never, like, 100% completely true. It only happens once a year, and therefore is less work for the mods to moderate if major changes only happen once a year. Minor changes, however, like the wiki's people themselves clamoring to change small rules that aren't very meaningful, mostly just quality of life, can happen once a month and will be predetermined by a new category titled Monthly Changes. People will present their small wanted changes to the rules between certain dates each month, before the category becomes locked again and no new posts can be made. The top 5 rated posts with the upvotes or comments or whatever, upvotes mostly, giving upvotes a purpose, by the way, that would be cool. The top 5 rated posts between these dates will come into effect immediately without any further debate. So nobody can debate these posts because they've already been upvoted, they've already been approved by the people have made them, they've been approved, and they're going to have to come in. No moderator can edit the will of the people if it's a minor change, basically. Corruption doesn't really matter with this, since the changes are small, and if somebody votes on using an alt account, it won't matter much in the end anyways. But if you do see 50 accounts join the wiki in 2 hours, and suddenly there's 50 upvotes on a single post, I'm pretty sure it's kind of easy to see which post is cheating. But I don't think that'll happen anyway, so I don't think corruption is such a big problem with minor things. Let's see, though, for the people who don't realize, because I have seen some people, like, kind of just go, why are we fighting? You know, why is this such a big deal? And I get that. I want peace as well. You know, I don't want anyone to fight. Let's see, though, for the people who don't realize, since I'm pretty sure a few people don't understand why it's such a big deal with how the wiki is run, and that's okay. Not everyone's interested in politics and issues regarding power structures. I get it. I really do, because, like, a whole bunch of terms and stuff, it's really confusing at first, and it just gets kind of mind-boggling, like, why does this all matter? Why is it? And I just feel like it all matters in the future. It doesn't much matter right now, but the problem is that it could matter in the future. Say in a year or so, we could have totally different mods, and they could be much worse than the good mods we have now. So basically, I'm trying to change this in order to save the future, because I feel like there might be some bad things that happen in the future with, like, the moderators and stuff. Because corruption, as I'm going to talk about later, can really infiltrate the wiki very fast, but it hasn't yet. So that's good, but the corruption and how fast it could infiltrate is not good, so we need to fix that. Why does the wiki need liberalization? Even if nobody understands, I'm gonna try and do my best to put this into a simple enough thing to understand, so that everyone can get it. Let me drink. Let me take a drink of water. I already said so much. You'd think a role player would be able to talk more and clearer too. Not everyone's interested in politics and issues regarding power structures. I get it. Why does the wiki need liberalization? Well, and liberalization, by the way, I realize in my essay I just used a massive term that I probably nobody. Liberalization is basically the acceptance of new things, and it's basically the political statement for out with the old, in with the new, if you will. Well, because politics are based for anything that has an authority, and people... by the way, I'm going to get a little bit more serious here coming up, just a fair warning, but I mean this all lightheartedly. The mods are cool. Well, because politics are based for anything that has an authority, and people living under that authority, including this wiki, let's state the closest political system to this wiki. After I was thinking and researching this wiki... And this wiki, if it was a nation instead of just a site, would be called the following. Okay, this sounds really bad. An oligarchic dictatorship. Okay, so I know that sounds bad, and like I'm blowing this way out of proportion, and also not upholding what I promised earlier, what I would refrain from doing earlier, making the big statement about how the wiki is bad and horrible and authoritarian, But let me explain before you judge me here, because I want peace too, and I'm only trying to state facts. I do not think the moderators, good people, can be likened entirely to dictators, bad people, but there are similarities here that are clear and evident. By Wikipedia, a dictatorship is defined as such. A dictatorship is a form of government characterized by a leader or group of leaders called dictators that hold government power with few to no limitations. Politics in a dictatorship take place between the dictator, the inner circle, and the opposition, which may be peaceful or violent. It's not incredibly evident that this is what the wiki is, so let me rephrase that in the terms of the wiki. The Wings of Fire wiki is a site ruled by a leader or group of leaders called moderators or power users that hold site-wide power with few to no limitations as to what they can do or change. Any form of politics within the wiki take place between the inner circle of moderators and the opposition, people who oppose their changes, which may be peaceful, see this thread, or violent, see 106. Violent in quotes, because nobody got physically hurt, of course, because it's just over site. It's just over the internet. Oligarchy, by the way, as a footnote, means rule by a small group of powerful people. Well, the definition isn't exactly the same. It comes pretty close, especially when you realize that we don't even elect our own moderators. We support their case for why they become moderators on the mod improvement discussion thread. I forget exactly what the category is called. We support their case for why they become moderators, but moderators are chosen by other moderators. What I mean is that corruption can affect that system with terrifyingly easily. One former moderator in this wiki, who will be left unnamed, I saw come to power by forming a cult of personality around themselves. Go ahead and look that up again and just click into the Wikipedia page, cult of personality definition, around themselves, and using that popularity to become a moderator. Although I doubt this has happened, someone could also likely gain the favor of someone who's already a moderator and use them to become one themselves. What I'm trying to say here is the power structure on the wiki, where there are plenty of ways to unjustly wind up in a position of power and then have near unlimited access to that power, is not good and can easily wind up in a bad spot. That is why we need liberalization, that is why we need democracy, and that is why our wiki's people need to be able to decide things, because having a limited say and having only a fraction of power of the power moderators do means we quote unquote live at the whims of people who can at almost any moment decide anything about the site, and if they decided they didn't want to, not listen to the people, because all means they don't have to. Say you woke up tomorrow and find a newsletter in your inbox and the roleplay section, the second biggest on the site, missing. Said newsletter says that due to it being too hard or stressful to moderate, or something along those lines, just an example, I'm not saying that the moderators don't work hard, They decided to not allow role-playing anymore on the wiki and therefore have removed the roleplay category entirely. While it's unlikely that the moderators would actually do this, the point I'm trying to make is that they could. And they, if they wanted to, don't have to listen to you if you want it back either, because you have no power to change this hypothetical situation. They can do anything, and you don't have any power to change that. While they do right now listen to you, as they have, because with the past rule there were some minor things that got allowed and stuff, which is fine. But say in a year we have a full new set of moderators, and they're not as good as the ones we have now. That means they can change anything they want, and they don't have to listen to you. And I feel like to ensure democracy now is to stop a worse situation from happening later. That is my 2 cents, though. Democracy, I feel, is needed here, lest the wiki may fall to corruption and bad leaders one day. I ended my essay with a hashtag, democracy for the Wings of Fire wiki. I hope you enjoyed my little essay. Again, I'm not likening the moderators to dictators or whatever, but the thing is that I feel like at one day, new moderators could come to power and they could be much worse, and that those new moderators could be an internet dictator, if you will. So to stop that from happening, I feel like we do need democracy, and we do need it now in order to solve problems later, if you will. So I hope that you agree. If you don't, that's okay. I get it. I get it. It seems all fine now. So we don't necessarily need it right this instant, but I feel like small and more changes should be slowly introduced and really slowly rolled out. Some rules should be rolled back. We should have more creative freedom. But apart from that, I really just wanted to say I think democracy is a good thing. I think giving more power to the people of the wiki as instead of the moderators is, I think, a really good idea. That's just my opinion, though. Again, if you don't care for that opinion, that's fine. I don't think anyone here is necessarily bad, but I think one day it could be worse. And I just don't want to see that day come. I don't think anyone wants to see that day come where, you know, your favorite site or whatever, you log into your favorite site and just everything's changed and you have no ability to change it whatsoever. So that's just my 2 cents, and you can have your own. I don't care, but I hope maybe I change 1 or 2 of your minds, or just at least open them a little bit. Thank you. This has been TDK/Sidewinder. You can call me Communique, by the way, if you want to. Communique, the French word. The French one for, like, a message. You can call me that, too, if you want now. Okay, so, bye. Thank you for listening.